The new American plate. So this is was developed by the AICR, and just to kind of give people more of a visual of what a plant-based diet looks like. If you're not really into measuring cups and measuring spoons, you can kind of just look at your plate and then determine what a plant-based diet might look like from there. So this is kind of an idea of that. So on the left, you have standard American diet. Most of that plate is meat, red meat, and a very, very small amount of vegetables. Green vegetables, it's not very colorful. And so we really want to move from that type of plate to the other plate, which is much more colorful. The meat is a much smaller portion. It's kind of not the starring role in this dish. You can see lots of different grains, lots of different vegetables, lots of different colors. This is really what we want to move towards, getting a colorful plate, getting less meat, and getting these plant foods to be the majority of our plate. So what we recommend is half of your plate at every meal being vegetables and fruit. So when you're preparing your lunches and your dinners, kind of visualize what your meal, what your plate looks like, and half of it should be vegetables. This chart just gives you just some ideas of what those examples might be. Again, it's not a comprehensive list by any means. Definitely want to get more variety than that. But it's just to give you an idea, maybe half your plate being broccoli and cauliflower, with a fourth of your plate being some brown rice, maybe a quarter being some salmon. Just making sure half of that plate is some type of vegetable. And I always encourage people to maybe choose 2 vegetables, so you have some more variety and more color in there. And lunch as well, as you can see, the one plate is a sandwich. You get some fruit and some veggies, again, making half of that meal those foods. So protein, we encourage you to eat more plant protein. This is really important. Plant protein is still a great source of protein, and it's very common for people to assume meat equals protein, but there's lots of other sources of protein out there that we want to get. Legumes are one of the best sources of plant-based protein. Your beans, your peas, lentils, and peanuts. These provide a great amount of protein, and they're plant-based. They also provide a lot of fiber and a lot of vitamins and minerals. Nuts and seeds. All nuts are good. All seeds are good. They vary a little bit in their nutritional profile, but for the most part, they're all good. You don't have to pick one over the other, whatever kind of nuts and seeds that you like. Soy foods, tofu, edamame, tempeh, these are all good foods to include as well. Half a cup of edamame has about 12 to 14 grams of protein. So that right there is a good source in just a half a cup of beans. And then encouraging you to try one meat-free day a week. So for example, if you normally have ground beef tacos for dinner, maybe doing black bean tacos instead of the ground beef, or at least doing half beef, half black bean tacos might be a way to get more plants in there and less meat. If you normally put chicken on your salad, maybe putting some chickpeas on your salad instead of chicken. Or again, half chickpeas, half chicken to increase that plant-based protein. Fish, poultry, low-fat dairy, as I mentioned before, this isn't a vegetarian or vegan diet, so you can definitely include those things in the diet. Fish has a lot of great nutrients, so I definitely encourage you to eat it frequently, once a week, maybe twice a week. No more than 18 ounces of red meat per week. And 18 ounces is what we're seeing from the AICR through studies, that anything more than 18 ounces per week can increase our risk for colorectal cancer. So kind of keeping that to a minimum. And again, that's beef, pork, and lamb. Avoiding processed meats, as I mentioned in the beginning, anything cured or smoked or salted, sausage, bacon, hot dogs, bratwurst, even deli meats. I know turkey and chicken are leaner, so they have less fat, but these are still highly processed with salt. And so we want to keep those to a minimum. I often get asked about the uncured products that are out there, excuse me, nowadays. And unfortunately, these things haven't been around long enough. And even though they aren't cured using the chemicals nitrates, they still are cured some way, whether it's through celery powder or salt. they're still processed, and so you still want to minimize these as much as possible. Not saying you can never have them. Certainly can have a turkey sandwich every now and then. Just don't make it an everyday habit. And limit charring meats on the grill. When you cook meats at really high temperatures, or if they fall into coals, they produce carcinogenic compounds. So we want to keep charring meats on the grill to a minimum. Again, never saying you can't barbecue or grill out. It certainly can do that on occasion, just not frequently. So carbohydrates. So there's different kinds of carbohydrates. And I know sometimes people look at carbohydrates as being something that they want to avoid if they're trying to lose weight, but it's really more the type of carbohydrates we eat than the carbohydrates themselves that are the problem. So simple carbohydrates, these are just simple sugars. They're broken down, digested very easily, very quickly in the body. And most of them aren't really healthy. Simple carbohydrates, again, they're processed so quickly, they typically don't have as much fiber in them, less nutrients. However, there are exceptions. Milk and fruit are simple, but they do provide a lot of nutrients for us, and fruit provides some fiber for us. So these are good, simple sugars, but most out there are not the best for us. Complex carbohydrates are really where we want to get our whole grains from. And so these are starchy foods. They have more vitamins, more minerals, the antioxidants, and the fiber. And they take longer to digest, so they keep us fuller for longer. And so we really want to focus on these complex carbohydrates instead of the simple ones. So what are complex carbohydrates? Well, these are your whole grains. This is why dietitians often say, eat your whole grains, because they have so many great nutrients in them, way more than your refined grains. So what are whole grains? So whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, couscous, quinoa, farro, oatmeal, corn, barley, brown rice. There's lots of other ones out there. The term ancient grains has gotten a big buzz lately, and a lot of grocery stores are now carrying bulk bins with these ancient grains, and these are all great things to include. They all have a little bit different taste to them, so I encourage you to kind of try different ones. But these are all great things to include in our diet that provide a lot of nutrients for us. And again, your simple carbohydrates, your white flour, white breads, and things made with white flour, cereals with refined flour, most of your baked goods, pastries, chips, pretzels, cookies, crackers, candy, soda, those types of things. These are all foods that are processed very quickly in the body, often don't provide as many nutrients. So we want to eat more of the complex. Again, you don't have to cut out simple carbohydrates altogether. Certainly okay to have some of these foods every now and again. We just want the day-to-day things that you're eating to be mostly whole grains. So changing from white bread to whole grain bread, changing from white pasta to whole grain pasta. And you can even do this in stages. Sometimes when I talk to people, they just don't like the taste of whole grain pasta. So I tell them to do half white pasta and half whole grain pasta. That way you're still getting in that whole grains and a lot of those nutrients, but you still get the taste of that white pasta that you like better. So just different things you can do, and then maybe move to incorporating all of whole grain pasta in your diet. So this slide just is one of the things I like to talk about reading your ingredients list. This is from 2 different products that I saw at the grocery store, and both of them said whole wheat crackers on the label. The first one, as you can see, whole grain really isn't listed until farther down in the ingredients list. The very first ingredient is enriched flour. This is not whole grain flour, this is white flour. And so while the front of the package says these are whole wheat, sure, they may have some whole wheat in them, but they're by no means 100% whole wheat, and actually they're more white flour than they are whole grain flour. So I encourage you, when you're looking for whole grains, to look at your package. This is especially true with breads. There's lots of breads out there, and a lot of them are marketed as wheat bread or multigrain bread, but they don't really contain much whole grains. So when you're looking at these products, make sure the very first ingredient is whole wheat flour or whole grain flour. That's the most important thing. You can also see on the left, you may look at the box and think whole wheat, oh, these are a healthy thing to have. But not only are they mostly enriched refined flour, they also have partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil that I bolded in there. And this is trans fat, something that we want to completely avoid in the diet if possible. So just read your ingredients list when you're looking for these whole grain foods. And the other one that I saw, the whole wheat crackers on the other side with the small ingredients list, as you can see, that first ingredient is whole wheat, and that's what we want to look for when we're buying whole grain products. So for fats, these are another thing that's really important in the diet. However, we do want to eat them in moderation. They have more calories per gram than any other nutrients, and so that's why we need less of them. And fats aren't bad. Again, it's the type of fat that we eat that's what's important versus the total amount of fat. So saturated fats, these come mainly from your animal products, so meat, cheese, dairy, butter. And we really want to limit this type of fat. There's a lot of different research on saturated fats and whether they increase risk for heart disease, whether they don't. That's kind of been back and forth lately, but we do know that saturated fats can contain more calories, and so this can cause struggle when we're trying to maintain a healthy weight as well. So we really want to try and limit these fats. Unsaturated fats is really where we want to focus. So our monounsaturated, avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, we want to get more of these, as well as our omega-3 fats, so your fish, especially your salmon, which is probably one of the most common fatty fish with those omega-3s. Walnuts, canola oil, and flaxseed. Chia seeds are another example of omega-3 fats. And again, we need to get more of these in our diets. And the other kind of unsaturated fat is omega-6s, corn, cottonseed, and soybean oils. I didn't put get more in right next to the omega-6s because most of us get enough of these in our diet. These three oils are very, very prominent in processed food, so we get plenty of these. What we don't get enough of is the omega-3s and the monounsaturated. So we want to focus on getting more of those and including those in our diet on a regular daily basis. Maybe adding flaxseed to your morning oatmeal or cereal or smoothies or chia seeds. Adding avocado to your salad, things you can do to kind of incorporate these healthy fats into your diet. Again, your avocados, your nuts, these all have phytochemicals in them, and these are a great plant food to consume. So your vitamins and minerals, again, they're essential for proper health. They're involved in many processes in the body, and they are most abundant in plant foods. Just another reason why we recommend these types of foods. And getting these nutrients from diet is very important. And so this New American Plate, this healthier style of eating, really just the main picture here is making half of your plate vegetables, fruits, a quarter of it whole grains, and a quarter of it lean meat or plant-based protein. That's really the main focus of this New American Plate and what we encourage you to do to get the most nutrients, the most phytochemicals, to decrease risk for cancer and recurrence as well. So pay attention to your plate, pay attention to your meals, and really try to adapt this style of eating and what your plate should look like.